Hi, my name is Gudrun from G Designs. Welcome to our live show, Tipsy Tuesday. Hello, everybody. Welcome to our show, and thank you for being here with us. I am back from my trip, so excited to be here straight from the airport. But if you're watching us on YouTube or Facebook, make sure you participate, send us comments, and of course, thumbs up and hearts. And if you haven't done so yet, make sure you subscribe to our channel. And then, of course, you have to like us on Facebook if that's where you prefer to watch. And we'd love it if you share it with your friends that are interested in quilting and you think would enjoy our shows. That's always the best compliment. But thank you all for being here. So happy to see you all. Say hello to Mr. GP. He is producing today. Yes, I did take Mr. HP with me.
Hello, everyone.
Home. He did come home with me, but he had to run straight to rehearsal. He's got a gig. Coming up tomorrow and then again on Saturday. So no stopping for the rock star. Not this rock star either. Hey. So excited to be here, and I've got lots to share with you, some stuff from our trip and some other great things. So let's get into it. So first off, make sure you stick around to the end of the show. You have a chance to enter our giveaway for a $25 gift card. I ask you a giveaway question. All you got to do is answer it in the comments. So that last week I asked you, what is your favorite fall food? And we got some great answers, and our winner is Mr. GP. You got it? Beth Ferguson. Congratulations, Beth. Her answer was, I love butternut and buttercup squash as well as apples. Oh, yeah, butternut squash is one of my favorites. Anything pumpkin, I'm all about it in the fall. What is your favorite fall food, Mr. GP?
I also really like butternut squash ravioli.
Yeah.
That's the best.
Now, I did a little pasta making in Italy, so I got to pull out that pasta maker now and get some fresh pasta going. And that will be a delicious treat. So, yes, we just got back from our amazing trip. Me and HP left right after our Fan Fest and started off in London for a couple of days. Now in London, it was work. We actually got to take our London Calling quilt. This is all you get to see now. But of course you had to get a bag that was very fitting to carry around the city. We took some photos, visited the spots. And if you were wondering, yes, we did stop at Harrods and got Mr. HP some shortbread cookies. And I was wondering if they would make it through the trip because, you know, it was a long trip. And he told me he had a can and a half still in his bag. We'll have to see how long that lasts. Usually when he goes in, there's no stopping. So that's what was the start. And then we flew to Italy and spent a few days in a wonderful little village on Lake Como. It was gorgeous. It was relaxing. You know, always when we go on vacation, we kind of pretty much sleep the first day, which was lovely. And didn't pull out my computer for anything other than the Vikings game. Yes, I did do that. But played cards, saw some amazing sights, ate some gorgeous food, and we're of course celebrating Mr. HP's big birthday. He turned 60, and for his birthday, so we stayed in a village about 25 minutes from the city of Como, which was gorgeous because we had a balcony overview overlooking the lake. It was just incredible. We're going to share lots of videos and photos with you next on Friday. We just got here, so we couldn't get all that together. But I took this video, so then we drove from our little town that we stayed in, and then further up to a town city called Bellagio, very famous, very saturated with tourists, of course, in the summertime. summer and fall, so still a lot going on. But what's so interesting when you're driving around Lake Como, we had our own car, it's very, very, very skinny streets, very tiny. So sometimes you had to really, when you're passing somebody, stop and making sure that you could get around. And literally, like, the rear view mirrors were this far apart. It's amazing how they get around in bigger cars. So if you're going to rent a car and go drive around in Italy, especially in that area, get a small car. Small car is the key. Don't get a big car. But it was amazing. So I took this video just for a few minutes as we were driving from our little town through all the little towns along the lake, and we sped it up a little bit. So let's take a look. Isn't that crazy? So yes, and there are twists and turns and gorgeous views on the side, of course, overlooking the lake. It is just fun. So Mr. HP was channeling his inner Formula One driver, or like the road rally road races. He felt like a race car driver. I didn't let him go very fast though. You can't go very fast. Yeah, it's tiny, but isn't that beautiful? I just love all the little different houses, how they are built into this hillside or mountainside, and it's just incredible. It's incredible. It's a gorgeous, gorgeous place, special place. Definitely will be back, I think, for sure. He was loving it. He was loving it. So then on his birthday, we probably got to do one of my favorite things about this trip. We went to Bellagio. We drove to Bellagio and took a private cooking class with a very authentic Italian chef called Alessandro, and we absolutely loved it. So we have some photos just arriving in Bellagio. Now, so we were just using Google Maps, and sometimes you are driving down. Can you put that picture back up? Yes. It takes you places where you don't think that you should be driving. Full of people, skinny streets. You can see the hood of our car. It pretty much filled that street. And Mr. HP was about to just stop and turn around because he thought he wasn't supposed to drive there when he saw there was already 2 cars behind us. So we had to just keep going and go really slow until people got out of the way. But it was beautiful. The streets are just very, very classic Italian. I love all the cobblestone streets, of course. There was, where we took the class was right by the big church in the center of town. And then to find the place, it was a little hard, but you turn into these tiny little skinny alleys, and that's where our class was. And so it was just a little kitchen where so cute, just set up for the 2 of us. And we dove right into some pasta making. First off, as we were waiting for our pasta to kind of settle and set, we started it off with a little antipasti, so some local cheeses and meats and some homemade apricot jam, which was delicious. I got all those recipes, so I'm trying all of this stuff. And then we made pasta. We rolled pasta, and through the machine, we made tagliatelle. And after you pull it off the pasta maker, you're supposed to make these nests. Okay, my nests are on the right side. Mr. HP's first nest was not much of a nest. It was a little flat pile, but he got better. And then we made gnocchi from scratch as well. You can see the gnocchi on the table. Now, we ate our pasta so fast, I don't even know if we got a picture. I think we got some videos, so we'll show you Friday. But our gnocchi, which he assigned Mr. HP as my sous chef. So Mr. HP made the gnocchi, the sauce for the gnocchi. We both rolled it. The sauce for the gnocchi was like a gorgonzola, like a blue cheese sauce. It was delicious with some sage. And then we made tiramisu, and the sous chef was in charge of whipping And I have to say, Mr. HP usually doesn't like creamy dessert, so tiramisu has never been his thing until he cleaned his plate. So I learned to make this very authentically, and I think I'm going to have to make it for the team here to see what they think. It was delicious. I licked my plate. I was hoping I could take the rest home, but no. But it was so good. And there we are with Chef Alessandro. It was just a great night and just a very memorable way to spend a birthday. And so I highly recommend it if you get an opportunity like this to go somewhere and have a really authentic experience. So much better than just going to a restaurant and ordering food. Really connecting with it and making it and learning and connecting with people. Because we talked about all kinds of things that night. Of course, he was just having a glass of wine with us and just enjoying. So great friends, staying in touch for sure. So love that. Love that. He even taught us, and that's what I'm trying. Definitely. He told me or taught us how he makes his own limoncello. And it's so different from any recipes I've seen for making your own limoncello here in the States. So I'm going to try it first, and then I'll let you know. How did I find the cooking class? So what is lovely, we stayed in an Airbnb, and we had amazing hosts, and they were just very welcoming and offered up all kinds of things to do. And so I was communicating with her before we got there and asked her about any kind of local, either wine tasting or any kind of cooking experiences. And she connected us with Alessandro, so I was just able to make that reservation on my own. You can call, or in Europe, they use WhatsApp a lot, so you can message through that, and it was set up like that, very easy, just really a great thing. So we took a boat cruise on the day before on Lake Como, which was gorgeous. I'll show you some videos on Friday. Just an amazing cruise, and that's something that I also found on Airbnb. It was what you can find Airbnb experiences. Just look through them, compare a lot, and I just booked the one that looked very authentic, small little family business, and that ended up being fabulous as well. So love it, highly recommend it.
What are the quilts behind you today?
Oh, the quilts. We have behind me is Elsa, made a little bit differently. So you see the softer colors. This is fabric that's coming in later this fall. It is by Zen Chic from Moda, one of my favorite designers. And I did a scrappy background. So there is a corresponding Elsa, which we don't have up now, but that one has a scrappy background, so scrappy lights. We have on the little shelves, we have Crossroads Runner and Off Kilter, little Halloween going on. And then behind you is my latest Lilo quilt. Yes, the latest Lilo quilt that just got its binding on. So this one is out of the Ski Hill fabric. So, okay. Speaking of limoncellos, Donna says that's her favorite. It's also Mr. HP's favorite. And Alessandro taught us how to drink limoncello the Italian way. It's a shot. At least that's how they do it by Lake Como. Yes. You take it pour it in a little shot glass. I like to sip it sometimes too, but I guess you can do whatever you want. But he's like, no, you take it as a shot. So we had to do that. We had to try that. So that was lovely. But so we'll tell you a lot more about our trip and share some more videos with you on Happy Friday show later this week, once we get to download all those videos from our devices. So exactly, we didn't do any work there. We wanted to enjoy fully, so it's all good. Okay, so it is time for our tip of the day, and this time I think it's a question that has been asked a lot. And I hope to share with you the versatility of a half yard. Yeah. So this is the question I get a lot. Why do you sell half-yard bundles and not kits? Well, and why not fat quarter bundles? Well, in my opinion, I've been buying half-yards for a long time in my sewing life. So I've always bought half-yards for the versatility of a half-yard. So sometimes a fat quarter, which is only half width, sometimes I need a full width strip. And sometimes I need maybe just something to use for binding, for a small border, and a half-yard will do that for me, which a fat quarter usually won't. So that is one of the reasons, but I wanted to show you all of the different things or cuts you can make with a half-yard. One of the things why we do half-yard bundles is that you can use these bundles for pretty much most of my patterns. So it's not a bundle that goes with one quilt like a kit would be. So they are already coordinated, they're already very balanced, they coordinate, they have lots of action, and so they are ready to pick up and put into pretty much any of my quilting patterns. So let me explain that a little bit, but first let's talk about how versatile the half-yards are. So from one half-yard, this is a half-yard that now folded in half, so I have the bolt fold up here, I created another fold up here, down here, and this is one of the main reasons why I choose to buy half-yards and through my quilting years instead of pre-cuts. I get to cut them with my ruler, they're going to be perfectly accurate, and I don't have extra. I can just cut what I need, and then as I'm cutting up this half-yard, I actually continue cutting it all up so that I have stuff that is cut. I'm not putting a small leftover into my cabinets, which will get wrinkled up and maybe not found again. So then when you're ready to use it again, you have to start by ironing it and doing all those things. So a half-yard, of course, equals 2 fat quarters, because a fat quarter is pretty much a half-yard cut, so 18 inches, and then only half the width, so it's cut on the bolt fold. So it's usually about 18 by 21, so 1 half-yard is 2 fat quarters. From a fat quarter, I can also get 4 10-inch squares. So we're correlating this with pre-cuts. I can get 4 10-inch squares, but I do have a leftover that I can use for other things. 5-inch squares, you can get 24 5-inch squares out of a half-yard. You can get 7 2.5-inch strips out of a half-yard. And if you were cutting those 2.5-inch strips into squares, you would get 112 squares. If you're cutting 2-inch strips, you will get 9 2-inch strips out of a half-yard, 180 squares. If you're cutting 1.5-inch strips, you get 12 1.5-inch strips, 324 squares out of a half-yard. Yeah, most of the time I don't use them quite like that, but it's good to know, and all of those numbers and things you can find in the Master Your Stripology Rulers book. But I have often talked about how I can get 2 quilts out of a half-yard, a 12-piece half-yard bundle. And so because a lot of my patterns use those pre-cut sizes like 10-inch squares, 5-inch squares, 2.5-inch strips, and 1.5-inch strips, I can cut my fabric into my 10-inch squares, and then I can possibly cut strips from the rest to use for another quilt, just adding a background. And specifically in my Stripology Mixology 2 book, I showed some ways to cut a half-yard. So here's 4 different ways. There are, of course, endless combinations. But for example, this is how I would cut up my half-yard bundle. I was about to make 2 quilts. If it is a quilt that requires 10-inch squares, and maybe I want to do a 2.5-inch strip quilt also, I would fold my fabric like this, cut 1 or possibly 2 half-yards at a time, and I make my cuts through the 10, so getting my 10-inch squares, and then I'm just going to cut the rest into 2.5-inch strips. So from each half-yard, if I'm making those cuts, I will yield So I have my 10-inch squares. This will make 4 squares. And then I have 3 2.5-inch strips. They're really perfectly cut. They're going to be accurate. And so out of a 12-piece bundle, I will get 48 10-inch squares, which is a much better measurement or a number than 42 that is usually in pre-cut packages, because then you can do a layout that is 6 by 8 and that you need 48 squares. So that's one of the reasons. So out of a half-yard bundle, I get 48 10-inch squares and I get 36 strips, which is usually enough for a quilt if I have something that has background with it. But here are some other ways to cut up a half yard if we're looking here at this book. So you, for example, can cut your 10-inch squares. So you can cut one 10-inch square strip, 2 2.5-inch strips. This is one combination. And then you can get 1 1.5-inch strip, sometimes actually 2. So that would be one combination. That would get you 48 squares, 24, and then possibly 12 or 24 1.5-inch strips. And yes, I would finish cutting, however, whatever I wanted to cut from these and set it aside, even if I didn't have a plan what to make to start with. You can also cut a 10-inch square if you need 10-inch squares. Maybe you want some 5-inch squares. So you can cut a 10-inch square, 10-inch strip, a 5-inch strip, and then you can also get a 2.5-inch strip. So from the whole 12-piece bundle, you would get 48. Here, you would get 96 5-inch squares, which is pretty much, it was more than 2 charm packs, which usually I can make 2 table runners out of that. And then you get 12 2.5-inch strips. Great for another table runner or small topper project. And then what if you just wanted some 5-inch squares? You can cut a 5-inch square, you can cut 4 2.5-inch strips, or you can cut 2 5-inch strips depending on how many you needed, and then 1.5. So the combinations with these pre-cut sizes are pretty much endless. Now, I get asked this a lot. What if you know you're making a 10-inch square quilt, you cut your 10-inch squares, and you don't know what you're going to do with the rest, and you don't want to be stuck with maybe 2.5-inch strips? So if you would prefer to have some more options, here's my suggestion. Cut your 10-inch strip, cut a 5-inch strip, and then you can also cut a 2.5-inch strip, because that 5-inch strip can become squares, but it can also be cut apart to become strips. So it gives you a lot of options. It could also be cut into 5 by 10-inch rectangles, which sometimes in some 10-inch square patterns, that is the start. For example, my Elvira 2 pattern. So that is the versatility of a half yard. It is, for me, the best way to have a really nice usable stash. And once you start cutting it, finish cutting it all up, save the pieces like that, because they're so handy to grab for your next project and everything is ready to go. All right, I know you have some questions, so let's hear it. I saw one question was about folding the half yard. You want to take your bolt fold it all the way over the selvages. You want to make sure that those 2 folds are perfectly parallel so that you can get really straight strips without any elbows in it. You know, when your strips have elbows, you don't want that. And I've shown a trick to do this a few times on Tipsy Tuesday. I show it in my class videos as well. So check those out using the lines on your cutting mat to make those straight. But key is having those 2 folds be perfectly parallel and you're good to go. All right, any other questions? No? Why is this not working for me? I can't see it. Well, Okay, good. Well, so let me know if you have any more questions on the half yards. We can always get back to them. And yes, this was the Stripology Mixology 2 book that has those options. But like I said, most of my patterns, a lot of my patterns start with fat quarters, 10-inch squares, 5-inch squares, 2.5-inch strips, 1.5-inch strips, or now half yards. So that's how you can get a bundle, and it works for everything. And remember, a bundle is not a kit. It can be used for so many things, so many things. And then if you grab a half yard or two out of a bundle, you can always replace it with another half yard. Mix and match. More questions? Do you recommend starching and pressing before cutting? Always pressing, depending on what you're making, what pattern you're making. I always recommend it in my books if I recommend starching or best press. So you want to do that all before you start cutting. So that means you starch first, make sure it's completely dry, then you press, and then you cut. And then after you've cut your pieces, no more getting your pieces wet. No spraying water or spraying more best press or starch. Okay? Good. Why don't you cut the selvages off before cutting the strips? You don't need to, because the selvages are not going to matter. So what you're doing is, first of all, spending time cutting them off. Second of all, you're cutting a little bit of fabric sometimes. And I've always saved myself, because fabric comes, it's supposed to be 44 inches selvage to selvage. Unfortunately, 10 years ago, we were able to have always, as a pattern writer, 42 inches of usable fabric on our strips. Nowadays, some companies are making really, really wide selvages. And then fabric is, depending on the company, some of them are skinnier than that. So now I write my patterns based on 40 inches of usable fabric. If I do need it for the pattern sakes, I will always state it that you do need 42 inches of usable fabric. But things are changing, always changing. So I can use up a little bit into that selvage, and that will go into a seam. And so it's nice to have it on there as I am doing my subcuts. To get strips out of a 108, how do I fold? Yeah, that one is a tough one. You would have to fold it quite a few times to be able to get it onto the Stripology ruler. I'm not sure how many times, but quite a few times. Have I done it? Yes. It's the more fold you have, the harder it is to not get any elbows. So that's what I would kind of suggest. If you are going to cut maybe some remnants into strips, maybe cut it into a little bit more usable units. So for example, you can cut it in half, and then you're working with 54-inch wide fabric. And maybe you cut it into thirds. So you're a little bit short of a 40 wide, depending on what you're going to use it for. But I always recommend do not fold too much, because then there's a little bit more of a chance that you're going to get some hooks in your strips. Okay? Good? All right. Let's move on to just one last time. I want to remind you all that our Stripology Quickies Club, today is the last day to get the special price for all 12 classes, so the full club. The last day is today, because tomorrow our first video for the Lilo class, the prep video, and all your files will be in your account at 10 a.m. Central Time. 10 a.m. Central Time, everybody. You don't need to email me at 7 a.m. 10 a.m. It'll be there, okay? Here's the release schedule. So as you can see, Lilo is the first class. And the video goes, the first one goes live tomorrow, and then 2 weeks later, the full video class. So the prep video is all of the things that I recommend doing before, like some of the tools, some suggestions on fabrics, how you want, because Lilo, for example, you need some half yards or fat quarters, but then you also need a background fabric. So some options on that, some things to consider when you're choosing that. And so a lot of little things to suggest before we kick it off in 2 weeks. And so now the Lilo class, if you are not interested in the whole package of 12 classes, you can buy the Lilo class on its own. It is available now. Now, of course, you have to wait till tomorrow for that first video as well. But here is what you will find on our website if you just wanted to get the individual class. The individual class is $17.95. It includes the pattern and all of the extra little files that I add to my video classes. And the 12 pack, of course, then the price is on this special, only valid through today, is just over $8 per class. So quite a bit of savings, but you can always pick and choose. So who is ready to start on Lilo here soon? All the cutting will be in your video that goes live tomorrow. And just to remind you, I have made 4 Lilos already. Yes. 4 Lilos, here they are. So here's the Lilo from the book using our winged garden fabrics and kind of a creamy background. And then I made the Lilo from the vintage collection. It was just reds and blues and that robin's egg light blue as well. And I used a print that has a little bit of color, has some red and blue in it for my background. The Lilo hanging behind Mr. GP today is the one I made from Ski Hill, and I used a dark espresso brown for my background. I really love that effect. So you'll see the little bow ties are going to be coming from the background fabric, and you want it to stand out from all the other fabrics. And then Playgrounds was the 4th one. Used a pretty bright white background to play up the colorful fabrics. And for those of you that were interested in this one sold out, I think during our Fan Fest, because it was hanging in the showroom, and it's just stunning in person, really colorful. We are getting more. There's more on the way. Is it here? Oh, already here. So it's restocked. It's only a 10-piece bundle because we couldn't get all the fabrics. But you know what? 10-piece still makes a pretty large Lilo. So check it up, 10 half yards. Question? Would flannel work for Lilo? Yes, yes, definitely. Especially, I give you some tips on, the seams. So definitely it could work. It's not that small pieces that you wouldn't have trouble. You wouldn't have any trouble using flannels for it. Kind of wish that Ski Hill fabric was flannel. Wouldn't that be great?
That would be awesome.
Yeah, but
it's still one of my favorite bundles that's came in recently.
Yeah. Well, you being the outdoor winter sports guy,
if only there were snowboards on it.
Huh?
It's just skis.
It just says skis. It's Ski Hill. Yeah,
I know.
It's not a snowboarding hill. But on the back of it, I used Lux Cuddle, so it's a little bit thick, longer, and it's so nice. I used that snowy white Lux Cuddle on the back. Really, really nice. Turned out nice. So can't wait to see some Lilos coming up here real soon as our class starts kicking off. We have a new kit in the store. So our border up kits have been so popular, we just can't keep them in stock. Every time we get them in, they kind of fly out. So this is, of course, our very fast and easy Quilt-as-you-go table runner. And this one is a new kit from a new fabric line by my dear friend, Terry Dagenkolb. This is called A Very Terry Christmas, and I just love, love, love her artwork. Her artwork is so gorgeous. So I used, it's a skinnier border print, so we decided to repeat it, put a thicker strip in the middle. So this is such a versatile pattern. So this one, we cut it at 2.5 inches and then added 1 row of the border print and then just a 1 1/4 inch strip in between, and repeated it and then bound it with that same stripe. So in the kit, you'll get the border fabric and you get the backing, the really cute backing here with that typography print and the binding fabric. So enough to make this really fast. It's Quilt-as-you-go, so it's perfect to whip up for some great gifts. This border print is also great to use for placemats or any other other things for the holidays. Love it. So that is available. And I feel like I'm missing something. Am I missing something? I'm a little jet lagged, so I was calculating the hours. I got up at 10:30 last night. So I've been awake since. Yeah, it's a little scary, but we'll get through it. We'll get through it together. Fabric gets me through it. Honestly, I'm so excited about seeing what came in while being gone. And so we're going to start with this really, really cute little bundle, only 6 pieces, because it's, you know, for the little ones. It's called Arctic Tales, and it is fabrics from Art Gallery Fabrics. And I could not resist. Look at these cutie penguins. So this is a light blue background, and it's got penguins. Some of them have little hats and scarves doing their little walks, and I can just see how they walk. Just by looking at this print, you can see the wobble, can't you? It just feels like a wobble. So cute. So 6 pieces in here. Then we have this scenery print. Love that. So it's very neutral, very off-white. Most of the prints, just a little bit of color. So here we have the little bit of blue in here, but everything else is just black and white. We have this awesome, it's almost like a check, but it's little scribbles. So very unique little check, a little bit irregular. We have this one is super cute. And, oh, it's upside down. There it is. I was wondering, what is this? Do you see the faces now? Little polar bear faces. Because it's a polar bear in the snow, in the Arctic. So it's just the nose and the eyes, sometimes little ears, and they're different facial expressions. They're so, so cute. I love them. And speaking of cute animals, probably one of my favorite prints. Now, I don't know what, is this supposed to be penguins? No, they got ears. Are they polar bears? Maybe. Some of them have hats. And so this is pretty much just a black and white print, but they have little pink cheeks. Just a little dot. That just adds just a little touch that I love it. And then finally, the 6th print is just black and white trees, but I love these little surprises, little blue trees, gray trees, kind of in between, so it gives the print from a distance a little bit of irregularity. So I'll show you the trees. They're actually trees. Aren't they cute? So this is Arctic Tales 6-piece bundle, and the fabric pool, I did some neutrals. So this is off-white, so you can see it's not a pure white. Grunge Whisper is a great one, has just a little bit of gray, not too much, so it would mix in nicely. And so it's spotted in the off-white, so it has a little bit of that gray, so you can see it can mix in very nicely with it. And then we pulled a Deco Stitch Sea Glass, which is great with this color. It's perfect, that little robin's egg light blue color. And then I went with just contrast. So these you could definitely mix in. And then I went with contrast. So starting with the blues, because there is different shades of blue. If you want a little bit darker, dry brush and the turquoise is great. And a little bit brighter is the Grunge and the Dynasty. Dynasty has a little bit of green in here, but a little bit brighter if you want a little more, but it's closer to those polar bear face colors. And then of course I have black, because there's black throughout. Chalk and charcoal in the black is a pretty pure black color. And then I also did the spotted black, which has just a little bit of gray in it, but it works nicely as well. So those would be great contrast colors. I wanted to do another surprise, because this, very blue and white and black. What about pulling those little pink dots out of here and use dry brush medium pink or the Stash check in the petal. It has little white stars. I think that will be really cute too. And you know what I have in mind? I did a pattern, a Quilters Go pattern called Pitter Patter for a baby quilt, where I use these very low volume fabrics from Art Gallery, and then just one accent color or focus print for the borders. And so there's that quilt. And so this one I just used gray, so very neutral, great for any kind of baby. So you could do it with, instead of that gray, you could do black if you wanted to keep it pretty neutral. You could also do that turquoise, would be gorgeous, or that pink, or whatever else you want to do. But that has been one of the most popular of our Quilters Go baby quilts, the Pitter Patter. And we do have it still available as a PDF pattern and video class combo. So I'll take you through the whole process. Quilters Go, it goes together in just a few hours. Really, really nice. So I have another one for you. So this one is called Merlo. Merlo is by Camelot Fabrics, and I love anything unique. And so this deep burgundy red mixed with the gray, white, and black just really spoke to me. And I wanted to put together a collection. So this is only 10 pieces, but you know, a lot of the quilts in the Quickies book only needs, need less, 10 or less for a lap size. So starting with this one, and then it has this really nice black and white print with the little triangles, a little small floral, black and gray flowers and leaves, and then a little punch of that burgundy in there. A black and white print, a little bit tighter, so as you can see, it has a deeper value, almost looks gray from afar. So it's going to read a little bit more gray in your quilt. Then we have a couple of prints that are truly a beautiful shade of Merlo, we should say. The triangle print that we have in the white, and then a little bit of a directional print with those dots, directional black dots. We have the small print, small floral in a black with the red here, and the same main floral in the black background. Really, really pretty. Love both of those. We have that stripy print with white, black with white on it. Scooch this up here a little bit. And then last but not least, we have the black triangles, black background with the triangles. So we have this one 3 times in the different shades. So this bundle could be split into lights and darks. You can mix, you can pull out the red, and you could use that as a focus print for like Sammy or Amelie, anything like that. Mix the reds, the blacks and whites. Or you can add some more reds and get a really nice balance. So let me show you some of the reds that would work here. If you're a part of Color Club, of course, our our wine shipment, which was that a, what did we call that one? Cabernet? No. Did we? I don't remember. Yeah, so Impressions and Amour. So it's a little bit darker, but would still feel well in here. Bumbleberries in the dark red, a little bit lighter. And then our dry brush in the burgundy. So beautiful colors if we wanted to add more red to it. For the blacks, I pulled out a Dimples in the charcoal, so not a pure black, a little gray in it. And then also the Deco Stitch and the Stellar, because it has a gray print. It will mix very nicely with all of these prints. And then for the whites, I pulled one very white, the dry brush and the white on white, because that is really the tone of the lightest fabrics. And then I love the Spectrostatic and the mimeograph. It has a little bit of black to it, so that would also mix in nicely. Now, if you wanted to add some gray, that could be a focus print as well. A border, a small border. On the lighter side, I added bumbleberries in the light gray. So this one you'll see in the prints everywhere. So that could be a great addition. Spotted steel, just a tad bit darker. So that could be added as well. And then a darkest one, I pulled a deco stitch, and the granite has a little bit more brown to it, but it really matches some of the grays in here. But a lovely shade of gray, not too overpowering. And so mixing these in would just be a great addition. So this is Merlo by Camelot Fabrics. Nice and rich. And yes, I did have some nice red wine in Italy. Have to. When you're having some pasta with red sauce. That is pretty much the only time I drink red wine these days, is if I'm making pasta with red sauce, because I have to have a little bit in the sauce, and then the rest goes in my glass. Yeah, that's just how it goes. So any questions on those lines, let me know. We have our giveaway question next. So all you got to do is answer this question in the comments, and you're automatically entered into our giveaway for a $25 gift card. So we're going to continue with the fall questions. What is your favorite fall activity? I mean, sewing is always a year-round activity, but specifically for fall. Maybe you like, canning or garden work or whatever. Maybe it's just going to the apple orchard or the pumpkin patch or whatever. So can you think of anything that is a fall activity that you enjoy, Mr. GP?
I just love being outside in general.
Yes. I mean, I would say driving around looking at the leaves is one of my favorite activities in the fall. I get mesmerized by color. So if I'm driving somewhere and I see pretty trees, I start driving really slow and then I pull over if it's a good photo op. I love fall colors in their natural habitat. So that is one of my favorite things. One of my favorite things to do. I did love to go to the pumpkin patch with you guys when you were little. So do miss that. I do miss that.
One of your favorite fall activities is just Halloween in general.
Well, yeah. Yes.
It's a whole nother conversation.
So you may have heard about our 2 figurines that live here. They've lived here in the studio all year, but they are on the prowl now, which is Lady Eloise and Sven the zombie. So yeah, we like to set them up and try and scare people. So they're on the prowl already. I saw them in Nancy's office today, that they ended up there. So I guess they got Michael pretty good in his office. So I can't wait to do more of that little bit of trickery around here. So we have a lot going on for the rest of the week. We have, of course, One Yard Wednesday tomorrow morning at 9:30 with Colleen and the producers. Who's producing tomorrow? Mr. KP?
One of us. It'll be a surprise.
Okay, that's great. Keep it a surprise. And then on Friday, that is going to be September 27th, 12 p.m., our Happy Friday show. I'm going to show you lots more stuff from our trip, and there'll be a cocktail in there. And then our next week's Tipsy Tuesday is October 1st, already October 1st, 4 p.m. Central Time. I hope I will see you there, and of course some of our other shows this week. But until then, have a wonderful rest of your week. Get some sewing done, and I'll see you next time. Bye.